Hello everybody there, from Eindhoven, the Netherlands, where Total NASL TV has sent me to analyze the great game that was played between Man United and PSV Eindhoven, and why Louis van Gaal is in such trouble, and why Thomas Rongen should not be hired anymore as a head coach of any team. Unemployed again, so thank you Total NASL TV to give me that first class ticket to this beautiful city in my home country. But on a serious note, I want to talk about development, youth football. As you can hear, the streets of Eindhoven are still going crazy regarding the win of PSV against a great powerhouse Man United that probably has a list of players that are 10 times more worth than this tiny little club in the Netherlands that nobody knew about since Amsterdam really was the major city with Ajax for always, I must say. So switching gears again, back this time in the United States, in Madison Square Garden, New York, New York. That's right, the Big Apple. I want to talk about, again, youth football. Why have we not produced a great player? A player that's bought by Barcelona, by Real Madrid, by Man United, that can use some help, by the way, or any other big team in the world. And with all the European champions being played right now, I think it's a pretty interesting story, so to speak. You look at the majority of the teams, there's some Mexican players that play for Guardado and Moreno that scored a goal against Man United. It seems like that most countries are represented with big clubs. And in the United States, in particularly after the wave of John Harkes and Brett Friedel, Claudio Reyna, Clint Dempsey that is left. You know, the only ones really are players that are goalkeepers that continually to get playing time in the Premiership. I look at the recreational football all around this country. Unfortunately, our coaching education has not done a great job in the last 2 decades to produce coaches that can guide young players. And I'm talking about 6 through 12, which is the most important phase of development in terms of technique. And where we fall short still is technical ability to start winning prizes on the highest level with MLS teams within CONCACAF, with our national team on the World Cup stage. I think it's our responsibility as a country to put up better coaches on the lowest levels. We need to reach out to the Hispanic community. We need to still get into the inner city, which we do, but not in great force. So I think it's very important that the United States Soccer Federation realizes, and which I think they've done. The curriculum has changed. You can't just get an A license like I did in 1 week. There's more responsibility put on the coach, and we produce, I think, better coaches now. It's still a white, middle, upper class sport, driven by pay to play, which I think is unhealthy as well. The MLS clubs have done a great job by taking that away, where players don't pay and get, in most cases, good training within good facilities, with right nutrition, with right strength programs. So we are applying ourselves to the elite player very well. But then again, who is the elite player? What does the elite player look like? What should he look like? Are we picking the right players? Are we recruiting the right players? Do we have the eye for talent, which is so important as well? And I'm not so sure that is the case in our country. The pressures of coaching on the highest level, the switching gears, become more obvious. In college, you can't anymore, if you're top 20 program, for 2 years have a losing record. 20 years ago, that was not a problem. As long as you kept people happy, you didn't violate any rules, you could stay in a college job till you were 50, basically. Now that has changed a little bit. So the pressures in college football has also totally negated developmental. They win. They need to win. They play a lot of games in a short amount of time. It's ugly. It's fast. Still a substitution rule that should be modified. Not good enough. Better players can still take a rest and get back out there in the second half, for instance. So if we don't adopt the world's game with the world's rules and apply them from top to bottom, from MLS all the way through the recreational player, through college, through high school, where rules also are different, I think as a nation we'll never reach a pinnacle or a level that allows us to compete for a World Cup every 4 years. And I think this country, with its size, with the amount of people and players that are part of that, are still too fragmented. There's too many different leagues. There's still a lot of players that don't play because of financial restraints. And now we're talking about, as I said again, the African American and the Hispanic player in particular. So it's our role as a nation, it's our role as a governing body, United States Soccer Federation, to put more eyes, so to speak, in areas. Because, as I said again, talent scouting is not an easy thing, and not every coach is a good talent scout. I mean, it takes skill, it takes experience, and it also depends on what we feel is required to be successful. What is our DNA? What do we want to look like as a country at the highest level? Do we always want to defend and be tough and score on a counter as we have to do in the World Cup? Or do we, as we have to do in CONCACAF when we play against weaker opponents, we have to make the game, we possess the ball a little bit more? Do we want to create more effective players in the final third, more creative players in midfield, more two-way players in out wide, defenders that can defend first and foremost, but also can play a ball out of the back? So those are real questions that a Jurgen Klinsmann needs to answer. As the technical director, he needs to give a red thread, a red line on the technical side, give information to coaches at the under 14 level, 15. We have now full-time coaches there for our national teams, how we want to play. I think all teams, and people might disagree with that, should play within the same formation. I think coaching philosophy and styles could be different a little bit, but also should be aligned with what our head coach of our national team and also technical director is. So as I said again, it's a complicated issue. It's an issue that needs to be tackled on all levels. Going back again to the most important thing is coaching education. There's a reason why the Netherlands, Portugal, Germany, Spain do so well. That's occasionally going to happen, and that's not a problem. We'll continue to produce better and younger players each and every year. And I think the result against Man United showed that with PSV Eindhoven. The last topic that I touched on a little bit is, why should you not hire Thomas Rangel? I've had 5 teams: the Tampa Bay Mutiny in '96, New England Revolution, DC United, Chivas, Toronto, Tampa Bay Rowdies, where I was just let go. Very strange, because we were in the playoffs, tied for first, but that's an owner's prerogative. And the pressures of coaches on the highest level is not easy. There's a few coaches that, because of their reputation, deserve to be there. The Ziggy Schmidts, the Bruce Arenas, even Frank Yallop, who's won 2 or 3 MLS Cups, need to be there. But, you know, it's very interesting. Ben Olsen, loses quite a few games 2 years ago, wins only 3, stays there because an owner is committed. An owner believes that he's the right guy for the job and will turn his team around, which he did. So you got short-sighted owners that have 1-year plans. You have smarter owners that have 3 to 5 year plans. And in most cases, they stick with that philosophy and stick with the personnel, be it the president, be it the general manager or technical director, be it the head coach. I think it's very important. But people get antsy. Nowadays, social media is incredible and puts on a great amount of pressure on owners. They read everything right now, be it Twitter, be it Facebook, be it blogs. And when things don't go well, they're afraid of losing fans, and that's their bread and butter, obviously. So those owners need to make some real tough decisions based on reality more so than anything else. And in my case, 5 times that did not happen. I mean, you know, what were these guys smoking? Mr. Kraft, do me a favor. All right? I was gone after a year and a half because Walter Zenga was just a more attractive guy. I'm not talking about the way he looks, because I'm still a good-looking man, but I'm talking about the cat backwards, the Spider-Man. He was a guy that could sell some tickets. DC United had a great run there, but how do I end up at Chivas?